Day one at the elite Noble Academy was officially underway. The professor paced the room, totally fed up with her students' pathetic magic displays. Her icy glare locked onto our boy, who was chilling in the back, casually helping out his buddy. She barked out Isaac's name, demanding his challenging him on the spot. She ordered him to blast the absolute furthest dummy with a lightning strike. In his head, Isaac scoffed. Back in his past life, he was a literal god of thunder. His current body was heavily nerfed, but he still casually flicked his wrist and nailed the bullseye. The professor's jaw dropped, forcing her to spit out some rare praise. But Isaac's eyes darkened. He recognized her affiliation with a specific knight faction. They were the lapdogs of a massive aristocratic syndicate, the exact same shadowy elites who pulled the strings of the empire and ultimately set him up for ruin. These were the scumbags responsible for butchering his bloodline, slaughtering his squad, and executing him in cold blood. So obviously, in this second life, he wasn't just playing defense to protect his crew and the kingdom. He was going to personally hunt down every last one of those snobby aristocrats and make them bleed. But let's hit rewind and flash back to how this whole mess started. Isaac started from the absolute bottom as a dirt-poor commoner before his powers awakened, skyrocketing him up the aristocratic food chain. He clawed his way up to become the king's ultimate right-hand man. Fast forward to today, though, and it is his execution day. Our guy is chained up, taking the fall for massive treason he never even committed. The orchestrators of this sham? A squad of heavily armored white knights. Isaac knows them as the Order of Liberation, a supposedly righteous guild claiming to be the shield of the working class. Plot twist. The whole organization was a massive front, funded by the infamous Desai bloodline. These guys were absolute monsters. They operated as the puppet masters of the empire from the shadows, meaning this whole grand show of justice was pure theater. It was nothing but a slick PR stunt, designed to legally butcher any. Even while getting slapped with charges of demonic collusion and mass terrorism, our boy just flashes an icy smirk. Elizabeth catches his totally unbothered vibe and whispers, asking if their trump card is finally showing up. Isaac gives a slow, confident nod. He assures her that he has trusted this guy with his life for 20 solid years. The secret weapon? A powerhouse named Silas Monfront. This dude is his absolute ride or die, united by a burning, mutual vengeance against the Desaik's elites. After all, those exact nobles murdered their parents and dumped them into the system. They bled together in the trenches, grinding their way from zero to hero, actively sabotaging the Desaik's empire at every turn. Back in reality, the lead knight keeps spewing garbage, blaming Isaac for the kingdom's recent apocalyptic downfall. Asked for his dying statement, Isaac just lets out a mocking laugh. He proudly taunts his executioners, gloating that they entirely missed catching his partner in crime. The armored captain repeats Silas Monfront's name with a sick amusement, slowly unlatching his metallic helmet. In that split second, Isaac's reality absolutely shatters. The face beneath the visor? It is Silas. His so-called brother eats up the despair on Isaac's face, casually admitting he sold him out because the Desai cartel handed him a massive payday. Boom. Backstabbed by the one dude he trusted with his life. But the nightmare does not stop there. Thanks to Silas ratting them out, Isaac's entire squad is heading straight to the guillotine. Blinded by pure, unadulterated fury, Isaac violently summons his magical avatar. The entity detonates outward, instantly shattering the knight's heavily armed blockade. Moving like a feral blur, our guy decides that if he is entering the grave today, he is dragging a small army of these scumbags to hell with him. His traitorous ex-bestie just watches from the sidelines as Isaac brutally carves through the armored guards like they are nothing. Eventually, Silas gets bored, stepping up to cast a high-tier suppression spell that slams Isaac into the dirt with unbreakable barrier magic. Before long, Isaac gets dragged straight to the chopping block, primed for the guillotine. Seconds before the blade drops, our guy screams out, demanding to know why his day one bro would backstab him so ruthlessly. Silas just smirks, coldly dropping the bombshell that Isaac did absolutely nothing. He twistedly admits that Isaac was nothing but a disposable chess piece from the very beginning. Turns out, Silas was a slimy double agent, playing for the Desai family this entire time. Snap. The heavy blade crashes down, and our protagonist literally loses his head as his vision fades to pitch black. But Isaac's soul violently rejects this garbage ending. Pure rage and a brutal thirst for payback ignite a raging inferno inside him. Suddenly, a blinding, supernatural aura erupts around his fading spirit, and just like that, our guy gasps for air, his eyes snapping wide open. Total chaos instantly greets him. Everything around him is crumbling to dust. Terrified villagers are sprinting frantically. Screaming, he bursts into a manic, broken laugh, absolutely convinced the universe is pranking him by tossing his soul straight into the underworld. I mean, after a literal lifetime of playing the hero and crushing evil tyrants, this is his— Wait, something about this blazing wasteland sparks. Squinting through the thick smoke, the insane truth hits him. He is standing right in his own hometown. Those ruthless soldiers are rocking the heavy plating of the Eastern Revel Count. Suddenly, a familiar shout rips him out of his daze. It is his childhood bestie, Gavin. He is screaming at the top of his lungs, begging. Our hero totally freezes, completely mind-blown, seeing a buddy he hasn't laid eyes on in 2 solid decades. Because tragically, today is the exact day Gavin is fated to get slaughtered, taking a hit for him. Still yelling, Gavin frantically waves for Isaac to follow his lead. Panicking, Gavin bolts blindly forward, completely missing a dead body blocking his path, and wipes out hard into the dirt. Time literally slows down. For Isaac, it is like watching a horrific memory play out in crystal-clear slow motion. Already knowing the brutal tragedy that drops next, he launches himself forward on pure instinct. Snatching a discarded shield from the rubble, he slides in at the exact perfect millisecond to deflect a fatal sword swing. The armored brute gasps in shock, but Isaac brutally counters with a savage kick, instantly knocking the weapon away. That heavy blow was designed to be an instant knockout, yet Isaac stares at his leg in horror. His physical damage is embarrassingly pathetic. It is not just his muscles failing him. His massive mana reserves are completely dead, wiped to absolute zero. Scoffing at the weak hit, the smug soldier mocks him, admitting the moves are kind of slick for a filthy street rat. Too bad he still has to catch a one-way ticket to the afterlife. Meanwhile, Isaac catches a glimpse of his reflection and completely short-circuits. His face is baby smooth, and his legendary battle scar is totally gone. Isaac, watch out! Gavin's terrified shriek violently yanks him back to reality. Thank goodness, his survival instincts kick into overdrive. He dodges the lethal plunge and locks his grip bare-handed around the enemy's wrist. With his current scrawny build, overpowering this tank is impossible, meaning he has to totally lean on his veteran combat IQ. The soldier ruthlessly forces his weight down, pushing the cold steel millimeters from Isaac's face, forcing our guy into intense, rapid-fire calculations. Ding! A memory clicks. He instantly recalls a tiny, unarmored gap tucked right beneath the helmet's chin guard. Target locked. Isaac zeroes in completely on that heavily exposed throat. Shifting his weight like absolute water, he expertly twists the knight's arm, disarming and seamlessly catches the sword mid-air, slicing clean through the enemy's neck with one gorgeous lightning-fast arc. 2 hardcore decades of frontline bloodshed just paid out the ultimate jackpot. Unsurprisingly, Gavin's jaw practically hits the floor after watching his buddy casually fold a trained killer. Stuttering, he demands to know where on earth Isaac learned to fight like a total demon. Honestly, Isaac is just as stunned, staring wide-eyed, desperately trying to process if his dead best friend is actually breathing. Wiping the dirt off, Gavin nervously chuckles, swearing up and down that well, unless a ghost is doing the talking right now. Hearing those words, the pieces instantly click together in Isaac's head. If his best bro is standing right here, breathing, and this nightmare is actual reality, then he really just rewinded 20 years into the past, right before his own brutal execution. How the heck did he cheat death like this? He can literally still feel the cold steel slicing through his neck. But Gavin grips his shoulder, snapping him back to the fiery present. Before he can even process this mind-bending glitch, Gavin goes full panic mode. He screams that the Count's ruthless knights are torching their village, and their families are sitting ducks. The distant screams trigger a dark, buried memory for our boy. He realizes this is the exact day Count Revel turns their home into a bloodbath to crush a local rebellion. If his traumatic flashbacks are accurate, today is the day Gavin gets wiped out. And the exact same day his parents get brutally murdered. Adrenaline kicks in, and the duo sprints straight for Isaac's house. The whole time travel mystery can wait. Right now, there's only one thing on his mind: keeping his bloodline breathing. Back in his past life, Isaac was an absolute beast, a top-tier capital warrior, practically the only guy crazy enough to square up against the elite Desake syndicate. But right now, he's trapped inside a scrawny teenage body. Worse, his legendary powers are locked away, and his academy training hasn't even started yet. Long story short, he's basically a level 1 NPC right now. Mid-sprint, Isaac's battle-hardened instincts flare up. He yanks Gavin backward just a split second before a lethal strike blasts the ground, right where they were standing. Whipping around to face their attacker, they lock eyes with Zavald, the Count's twisted offspring. Terrified locals drop to the dirt, sobbing and begging him to spare their homes. But Zavald just flashes a toxic smirk, mocking them and calling this massacre basic karma. Boom! Without hesitation, he blasts his magic, obliterating houses and vaporizing innocent villagers on the spot. Isaac glares at this absolute garbage human. This psycho is straight up treating a family massacre like a fun little game, even though Zavald and his dad are basically bottom-barrel nobles. Isaac's current nerfed stats mean he can't exactly body him right now. Pivoting to Gavin, Isaac signals to ditch the streets and parkour across the rooftops to dodge the slaughter. Taking his lead, they stealth their way to his house, but Isaac freezes. 3 heavily armed guards are kicking down his front door. Our boy gets ready to rush them, but Gavin grabs his arm, frantically whispering to go find backup. Isaac ignores him. Backup? By the time any so-called help shows up, his family will be ghosts. Plus, these guys are just basic grunts. Yeah, it's a 3-on-1, but they are way weaker than the elite knights he fought in his past life. Sure, his magical stats are 0. But he is 100% confident his 20 years of raw combat mastery will utterly destroy these scrubs. And he doesn't hesitate for a single second. Crash. He shatters the glass, bursting through the window like an absolute. Inside, 2 goons have his parents pinned, while the third draws his weapon, charging right at him. Moving like lightning, Isaac slides into the kitchen zone and snatches 2 giant chef's knives to dual wield. With lethal aim, he whips the first blade through the air. Boom! It sinks dead center into the charging soldier's throat. The other 2 goons completely freeze, low-key terrified by this kid's insane sniper accuracy. But Isaac isn't letting them catch their breath. He blitzes straight into a close-quarters brawl with the next guy, armed with nothing but a regular kitchen knife. Decades of raw combat experience kick in, and the hair on the back of his neck stands up. An ambush is incoming. Isaac is completely boxed in, pinned down with literally nowhere to run. But instead of panicking, he grabs the guard dead ahead, launching into a wild backflip that forces the second enemy's blade straight through his own comrade's chest. Friendly fire. The surviving grunt just freezes, totally shell-shocked by the bloodbath. But Isaac is already materializing right behind him, sending absolute chills down the guy's spine. Whispering from the shadows, Isaac confesses he has been obsessing over this exact timeline, the one where he finally gets to unleash his absolute worst. Honestly, he is just insanely grateful to snag this redo. With that chilling flex, he instantly flatlines the soldier with one clean, brutal swipe. His little sis immediately sprints into his arms, right as his mom and dad stumble over. A massive wave of nostalgia hits our boy's chest. He murmurs about how heavily he missed them, aching from decades of grief. His dad finally breaks the stunned silence. Visibly shaken, but thankful they aren't dead, he begs to know what on earth Isaac is talking about. And more importantly, when did his kid turn into a literal weapon of Isaac swears he will drop the full lore dump later, but right now, they need to bolt to a safe zone. He points toward the dense woods, knowing damn well from his first playthrough that the only locals who survived are the ones who camped out there until dawn. Armed with these massive spoilers, he practically drags Gavin along, Gavin's family crib sits right on the edge of the tree line. So Isaac is 99% sure they are already chilling out of harm's way. To keep his buddy sane, Isaac mentally recalls the original timeline. Gavin's folks made it out, while Gavin himself got wiped. Not this time. He vows to drop his best bro off at his parents' doorstep. Following Isaac's alpha march, the squad plunges into the timberland. Inside, our boy is bracing for the grim reality that half the village is about to get massacred today. All thanks to the corrupt Count's bloodbath. The universe basically handed him the ultimate cheat code, and he promises to make it count. Cutting to the dark woods, surprise, surprise, a bunch of refugees are already huddled up, having sparked up a small campfire. Seeing as they have ghosted the Count's hit squad and hit a checkpoint, Isaac is just about to call for a breather. But out of nowhere, massive vertigo smashes into him, and his eyesight gets super glitchy. Reality check. His teenage body is way too fragile. He totally redlined his physical limits. As he blacks out, traumatizing flashbacks from his own beheading crash over him. The super toxic memory of Silas stabbing him in the back is basically burned into his retinas, fueling a monstrous, unhinged craving for pure vengeance. Bam! He snaps awake to Gavin hovering over him. Looking at his bro's face, Isaac is 100% locked in. This isn't a dream, he seriously time-traveled. Carrying all the cheat sheet memories from his previous, he has zero clue how he respawned. But the Desex family is about to face a horribly over-leveled boss. Especially that backstabbing snake, Silas. With a wicked smirk, Isaac instantly starts plotting his villain arc. Step 1 on the hit list, unlocking his dormant magic stats. But his dark plotting gets totally derailed by a blood-curdling shriek. Isaac's heart instantly drops into his stomach. Thinking the Count's death squads just crash-landed their hiding spot, he aggressively sprints toward the noise, only to find his bestie breaking down. Our guy is totally lost, but before he can even step up, his dad physically blocks his path, urging him to let Gavin process this massive trauma solo. Isaac is wildly confused, right until his dad drops the bombshell. The hitmen just slaughtered Gavin's folks. Isaac is utterly paralyzed by the news. This never went down in the original timeline. His brain absolutely rejects this glitch in reality. Gavin's childhood home sat right on the edge of the woods, so he practically begs to know what went down. Turns out, while Isaac was blacked out, the Count's psychotic heir completely lost his mind after finding his goons slaughtered. In pure retaliation, he unleashed a massive lightning storm, completely nuking the entire settlement. Which means Gavin's folks were caught in the crossfire, all because of Isaac's choices. By rescuing his own family and his best friend, he accidentally triggered a brutal butterfly effect. Guilt starts eating him alive, making him question if the universe is just punishing him, if he's doomed to lose everyone. But then, his dad firmly grips his shoulder. Looking him dead in the eye, he swears the blood isn't on his hands. The only monsters to blame here are that twisted Count and his psycho son. Honestly, knowing that sadistic freak gets off on absolute carnage, he just weaponized his guards' deaths as a sick excuse to rack up an even higher body count. Before stepping out, his old man drops some heavy praise, admitting how proud he is that Isaac risked everything to drag Gavin out alive. Those words completely snap our boy out of his spiral. He remembers he literally got a respawn, and he absolutely has to exploit his future vision to entirely wipe the Desex bloodline off the freaking map. Mapping out his insane advantage, the crucial Phase 1 of his master plan clicks into place. He desperately needs to unlock his mana. Barely surviving a clash with just one basic knight nearly flatlined him earlier. So without his magic, he's essentially just walking cannon fodder. Plus, leveling up means he can actually shield his inner circle, especially his little sister. The mere thought of her hits hard. Isaac hits us with a brutal flashback from his previous timeline, back when depression completely swallowed him whole. He totally abandoned his sister Madeline, leaving her trapped under the local alderman's roof. Everyone painted this community leader as an absolute saint and the ultimate nice guy. But that was one giant sick mask. In reality, the guy was a massive creep who put her through pure hell. Once the trash bag got bored of her, he literally sold her off to Count Revel's soldiers, tossing her into an even darker nightmare. Pushed way past her breaking point, she ultimately ended her own suffering. But not in this timeline. Our boy vows to be her ultimate shield. Out of nowhere, he yanks her into a tight hug, internally screaming that he will never repeat that fatal mistake. But then, a terrifying realization drops. If his sister dodged that bullet, doesn't that mean someone else is about to take her place in that nightmare? Completely disregarding Gavin's heavy mourning, Isaac aggressively grills his friend about where his sister Hannah is hiding. Right on cue, the poor girl has already been scooped up by that corrupt official. This is an absolute disaster. Of all the freaking people in the village, the universe had to target Gavin's sibling. Panicking, Isaac strongly insists they raid the house right now, warning him that the alderman is pure poison. Gavin gets completely caught off guard by Isaac's manic energy, shooting back with the fact that the guy is literally the respected pillar of their community. Like, bro, who on earth holds a better reputation than him? Speak of the literal devil, the two-faced snake strolls right in, casually asking what the commotion is about. He slaps on a fake mask of sympathy for the boys, politely suggesting Isaac back off so his friend can process the grief. Isaac violently bites his tongue to respond calmly, fully aware this total scumbag is hiding his true colors. Meanwhile, the alderman starts dropping his wise mentor routine, telling Gavin to hold his head up and swearing that his sister is locked down safe, hooking Gavin line and sinker into feeling deeply grateful. Watching this toxic manipulation unfold makes our protagonist physically want to throw up. He dips out solo, totally aware nobody's gonna buy his story, but sitting around doing zero? Yeah, not his vibe. Later that afternoon, Isaac sets off to rescue Gavin's sister, his mind entirely consumed by one goal, triggering his dormant powers. He remembers how, in his past life, it took weeks of grieving his parents and a stroke of pure dumb luck to finally unlock his abilities. Those powers had literally been sleeping inside him the whole time. But in this timeline, Isaac isn't breaking a sweat. He knows the exact cheat code to awaken them on command. More specifically, in exactly 2 days, his village is doomed to turn into ash. The thought of that impending ruin makes him swear a brutal vow. He's going to personally wreck Count Revel and his twisted son when the clock strikes. But right now, there's a massive greedy pig that needs to be taken to the slaughterhouse. Crashing the alderman's estate, Isaac creeps in and scopes out the scene. Seriously, 24 hours haven't even passed since the village went up in flames, and this creep is already drooling over getting his hands on Hannah. Yeah, our MC has officially seen enough of this garbage. Before the nightmare can escalate, Isaac just strolls straight into the room like he owns the place. He drops a cold line, telling the alderman he's gonna stay absolute trash, no matter how many lifetimes he lives. The corrupt official is totally rattled. He literally locked this place down tight. Yet here stands some random kid, throwing a massive wrench into his sick plans. Shedding the nice guy act, the old man snarls, asking if Isaac is begging to be flatlined. Not even letting our MC breathe, he commands his vicious hunting hound to shred the kid into pieces. Isaac blinks, caught slightly off guard, like he genuinely didn't expect the guy to snap that fast. Still, he keeps his cool, baiting the rabid dog out into the hall. Right as the beast lunges for his throat, Isaac whips a hard pivot. He completely jukes the mutt, guiding it right out the door. Bam! He slams it shut, locking the dog out. The alderman glares, his eyes turning to dangerous slits. Smirking with pure ego, the old guy hefts his heavy axe and starts spilling his own dirty little secret. He brags that he was the rat who guided the Count's soldiers straight to Isaac's parents. Also, he could snatch up his sister. Why flex this evil plot? Because he fully plans to butcher Isaac right here and finish off the parents next. Isaac just lets out an exhausted sigh, like this dude's master plan is literally old news. He's already fully aware this scumbag engineered the entire village raid, and sold them all out just to score a shiny noble title from the Count. The alderman's jaw practically hits the floor. He is entirely shook. He barks, demanding to know how Isaac uncovered his scheme. Isaac just icy stares him down, dropping a terrifying truth. He found out right before he gutted him the first time. He doesn't even try to hide the fact he's offed this exact loser before, and honestly, he is hyped for round 2. Without missing a beat, Isaac blitzes forward, dual-wielding his basic kitchen knives. Don't let his bulky size fool you. The alderman swings that heavy axe with terrifying speed. But for Isaac, that's child's play. Because to our battle-hardened protagonist, the guy's attacks are tragically basic and telegraphed miles away. Catching a glaring blind spot, Isaac flashes in, slicing a brutal, clean gash right across the alderman's thigh. The old man gnashes his teeth, hissing through the sharp agony. Writing it off as a total fluke, he heaves his massive weapon with blind, raging fury. Yet again, Isaac doesn't even flinch. The old man's wild swings are way too sloppy, leaving him wide open for the taking. Honestly, this whole brawl is just a warm-up for our guy. Alderman is literally dripping with panic. He starts screaming, demanding to know who the heck trained Isaac to throw hands like that. But Isaac just shrugs it off, telling the guy to stop obsessing over his skills and start worrying about keeping his head attached to his neck. Launching himself off the ground, Isaac promises to make the execution incredibly swift and painless. But our boy completely misses one massive red flag. Out of nowhere, raw electricity violently erupts around Alderman's body. A brutal shockwave of pure voltage blasts from his hand, launching Isaac through the air like a rag doll. He crashes incredibly hard into the solid stone wall, with deep spiderweb cracks shattering outward from the sheer impact. Coughing through the pain, Isaac instantly clocks his massive miscalculation. He totally forgot that the last time they fought, he actually had his own magical abilities to protect himself. A twisted grin stretches across Alderman's face as he realizes the massive power shift. He starts ruthlessly trash-talking our protagonist, sneering that Isaac's so-called master plan clearly has some Turns out, that sketchy Count Revel didn't just bribe him with a fancy royal title. He literally jump-started his hidden magical abilities. Okay, pause. Let Isaac drop some quick lore about these high society elites. These royals aren't just greedy dictators, crushing the working class for extra cash. Their terrifying grip on society actually comes from wielding absolutely devastating magic. Bottom line? Every single noble can bend raw electricity to their will. And this insane energy isn't just a one-trick pony. They can literally supercharge their agility, or flex some heavy spell casting, like throwing up massive defensive shields. Basically, it makes them look like straight-up demigods to regular civilians. The official propaganda claims this magic is a holy blessing straight from the heavens. A divine gift meant for slaying demons and protecting humanity down in the dangerous southern territories. But Isaac calls total cap on that fairy tale. That is just the elite PR machine brainwashing the masses. The dark reality? Literally anyone can unlock this lightning magic. All it takes is popping an awakening pill, a highly classified, heavily gate-kept narcotic cooked up by the royals. The second it hits your bloodstream, boom, you are officially a human taser. Back to the fight. Alderman flexes, completely drunk on the raw voltage surging through his veins. He mutters that the Count actually kept his promise. Bro genuinely believes this glow-up is his golden ticket into the royal inner circle, but Isaac shuts that delusion down instantly. He brutally warns the man to dial back the ego. Spitting facts, Isaac tells him he is nothing but a disposable pawn, destined to be thrown away the second the elites are done using him. That harsh truth completely shatters Alderman's pride, and he totally loses his mind, charging forward to violently shut Isaac up. But Isaac casually sidesteps the massive strike, quickly analyzing the situation. Alderman is way too predictable, a total rookie who just unlocked his gear. So here's the deal. Our guy can definitely clutch this win, but if even a single stray spark tags him, he is literally going to get deep fried. Dodging another lethal blast, Isaac's tactical brain kicks into overdrive. His gaze snaps onto a thick spool of copper wire, resting on the floor. Meanwhile, Alderman is just blindly spamming his new moves, completely clueless about the massive trap being laid out right in front of him. Isaac knows this crazy setup is super high risk. One single slip-up, and it is game over. Moving with insane speed, he aggressively knots the copper wire around a heavy metal door handle. Then, he whips the other end tightly around the blade of a fancy, decorative sword. Oh, this is pure genius. Our boy is literally rigging up a massive electrical death trap. And boom, you already know exactly what is coming. Now, our boy just has to trick Alderman into spamming his ultimate lightning attack. So, Isaac hits him with the absolute ultimate disrespect, mocking how this so-called awakened fraud cannot even land a single scratch on him. And he seriously thinks he is built to be some high-ranking noble? Please. Naturally, Alderman's glass ego completely shatters, and he totally falls for the oldest villain bait in the book. The split second this loser unleashes a blinding, massive surge of electricity, Isaac casually chucks the copper wire straight into the deadly current. Instantly, that metal cord lights up, surging with pure, raw volt. Without skipping a beat, our guy literally teleports behind Alderman with a slick slide. The villain is completely clueless, right as Isaac whispers in his ear that it is officially game over, planting a brutal, bone-crushing kick straight into the dude's stomach. Alderman instantly gets deep fried by his very own shocking trap. Moments later, the guy is literally roasted to a crisp, but somehow breathing, desperately screaming to know how a total nobody just folded him. Isaac actually raises an eyebrow that the human cockroach survived, though he figures it works out perfectly. Because now, he gets to send him to the lobby himself, using his trusty, blood-stained kitchen blade. All that cocky energy completely vanishes, instantly replaced by pathetic crying and empty bribes, but Isaac just hits him with a dead-eyed death stare. He coldly asks how this piece of garbage actually has the absolute audacity to beg for his life after the traumatizing hell he put his sister through. Alderman violently flinches, frantically swearing up and down that he never even laid a finger on her. But our main character just towers over the trash, his dark aura radiating lifetimes of unhinged, pure vengeance. And exactly like his past life, Isaac ruthlessly slices him down in one clean motion, finally taking out the trash. With the threat permanently muted, our guy immediately sprints over to check. Thankfully, the poor girl is just knocked out cold, and he gently promises to return her safely to her sibling. Pushing the heavy doors open, Isaac straight up forgets about the vicious guard dogs, but one terrifying, demonic glare from him instantly shuts them up. Yeah, let us just say those wild mutts immediately realize who the real apex Cutting away, the camera pans back to the cozy vibe of Isaac's family house. His best buddy is basically sweating bullets, stressing out, while his mom and dad try to keep the vibes completely calm. The literal second a frantic knock echoes through the room, Gavin practically teleports to the front entrance. Seeing the unconscious girl, pure panic floods his face as he demands answers, so Isaac drops the bomb that Alderman was the mastermind. He spills the tea that this scumbag actually orchestrated the entire village raid just to kidnap her, leaving Gavin absolutely terrified of what comes next. But Isaac does not even blink, casually dropping that he already wiped Alderman off the map. He seriously says it like he just took out the trash on a lazy Sunday. Flipping the switch, Isaac gathers his parents and Gavin for a highly serious chat, admitting he has to keep the full details completely under wraps. He basically tells them he needs to go completely off the grid for a couple of days. He totally promises that their hometown is a designated safe zone now, so they just need to lay low and chill. His dad locks eyes with him, completely recognizing the absolute force of nature his son is becoming. Even though they are completely in the dark about his crazy, high-stakes mission, they blindly trust his process, prompting our boy to casually drop that he is about to send the current count to meet his dead ancestors. Yep, meaning he is literally gearing up to assassinate the His old man physically recoils for a second, totally caught off guard by that insane flex. I mean, his kid basically just announced a straight-up murder plot over casual conversation. Still, despite the heavy, tense atmosphere, the two lock, sealing their unspoken bond. Isaac swears on his life that he will not let them down. One warm, pride-filled smile from his dad is all the green light he needs to pull off this absolutely crazy stunt. With that, our menace of a main character marches straight into the rugged mountain. Because honestly, what is a dark revenge plot without a cinematic, moody hike? Up there, Isaac's mind flashes back to the exact moment his insane powers officially unlocked. In his past life, Losing his parents forced him to bolt from his hometown in pure desperation. Drowning in sorrow and totally obsessed with payback, he mindlessly roamed the desolate outback. After endless drifting, his exhausted feet finally dragged him to the absolute peak of this exact mountain. Naturally, the guy desperately needed a breather. But that random tree he slumped against, that literally became ground zero for his insane power-up. Yep, Isaac caught a face full of raw lightning. Because honestly, nothing screams main character energy quite like getting absolutely fried by Mother Nature. For the longest time, he racked his brain trying to figure out exactly why the sky Turns out, that massive chunk of wood was basically a giant, natural lightning rod. And the timing right now is flawlessly calculated, because dark clouds are already rolling in, brewing up a massive storm. Simply put, it is time to get zapped. Jumping into the next chapter, our boy dives deep into the actual science behind this whole awakening glitch. He drops a major bombshell. Those stuck-up nobles parading their quote-unquote God-given abilities? Yeah, there is zero holy magic involved. The wild truth is that literally anyone breathes with the hidden potential to command high-voltage electricity. The only massive roadblock is actually triggering that dormant spark. He breaks down how a highly specific chunk of the human brain, once forcefully kickstarted, lets a person flex lightning exactly like a bicep. To cheat their way into this god-tier power, the rich elites just pop ridiculously expensive awakening pills. By hogging these meds, they basically lock down a never-ending monopoly on superpowers for their entire bloodline. But Isaac pulls back the curtain, proving the original power-up method was nowhere near this soft. The very first generation of awakened absolute units figured out you literally had to tank a direct hit from raw lightning, a profoundly unhinged and hardcore strategy. Obviously, playing chicken with a thunderstorm comes with some intensely fatal side effects. You only unlock the glitch if your heart does not completely stop from the blast. And the odds of surviving that barbecue session? Practically zero. That totally explains why those cowardly aristocrats threw money at science to invent safe, chewable awakening vitamins instead. Regardless of the insane danger, Isaac stands out as an absolute madman, chosen by the storm itself. Right now, our guy is literally perched on a branch, eagerly waiting to catch a thunderbolt with his face. And right on cue, the pitch-black sky violently shatters with aggressive streaks of blinding gold. Our main character officially shares the same brain cell as Barry Allen, being the only dude stoked to get vaporized by the atmosphere. But plotting a flawless do-over is never that easy. The massive bolt aggressively crashes down, missing his entire existence by mere inches. Turns out his math was slightly trash, completely forgetting the exact pixel-perfect spot he got zapped in his past life. Pure panic sets in, as Isaac realizes Mother Nature rarely hands out second tries. So, our boy goes full unhinged mode, resorting to absolutely desperate measures. Anchoring a thick rope around the tree trunk, Isaac tightly secures his waist and violently sprints forward. He straight up launches himself off the towering cliff face. The dude is literally gambling his own heartbeat just to taste that sweet, sweet vengeance. The exact millisecond his body suspends in midair, boom, a savage lightning bolt obliterates him. Pure electricity viciously surges through his veins, forcing his brain to instantly shut down from the overwhelming voltage. But mere seconds later, our absolute legend successfully reboots, powers fully unlocked. He aggressively scales back up the cliffside with pure murder in his eyes. Payback is the only thing on his radar. Isaac's god-tier arsenal is officially back online. In his first playthrough, grinding his skills to max level devoured years of his life. But this run, it hits entirely different. The guy is packing 20 years of hardcore combat experience. Flexing this realization, he tightly balls up his fist, aggressively channeling raw current. The outcome? He effortlessly atomizes a massive boulder using pure, unadulterated energy. Totally hyped, our boy takes it for another spin, and boom, the same destructive masterpiece happens again. A wickedly satisfied smirk slowly stretches across his entire face. Not wasting a single second, he immediately pivots to pushing his agility to the in one explosive burst. He crosses several meters before you can even blink. Isaac does the math in his head, realizing he is clocking in at around 100 meters per second. Still, it isn't quite fast enough to shatter the sound barrier. Not yet, anyway. Pivoting his attention, he decides to test another. Can he actually manifest his avatar right now? He hones in, pushing his focus to the absolute limit, but the energy flickers out, leaving behind something no bigger than a tiny pet. He lets out a frustrated sigh. Honestly, though, he knew this was coming. The guy literally just got his powers back. He is far from the absolute menace he used to be. Just to bring you up to speed, an avatar is the ultimate physical form of an elite warrior's electric soul. The catch? You need insane levels of control to actually pull it off. Anyone walking around with their avatar fully unlocked is an absolute god-tier threat. But hey, Isaac isn't complaining. The spark is finally awake. And for once, he actually has the time to grind in absolute peace. Boom. His thoughts are instantly derailed when a familiar voice snaps his name. He spins around, locking eyes with none other than his little sister. Our guy is utterly caught off guard, instantly demanding to know why she is creeping around out here. Madeline straight up admits he was acting insanely sus, so she tailed him all the way into the woods. Knowing the jig is totally up, Isaac sighs and chooses to spill everything. He tells her to brace for impact, dropping the craziest bomb ever. He literally time-traveled from the future. Obviously, she thinks he is absolutely capping, wondering if that lightning strike straight up deep-fried his brain cells. Hearing it out loud, Isaac cringes, realizing he sounds like a total lunatic. But the proof is literally glowing right in front of her. Her brother isn't awakened, and the dollar signs are already flashing in her eyes. This means total immunity from those scumbag nobles, and above all else, massive bags of cash. Our boy lightly thumps her on the forehead, telling her to chill out for a second. He gets why she is hyped, swearing he is going to flip their entire lives around. The only rule? She has to keep her mouth completely zipped about his powers. Before he even finishes his sentence, she interrupts, declaring her absolute, unwavering loyalty. Because let's be real, if it weren't for him, their entire family would probably be 6 feet under by now. Out of nowhere, her eyes dart to his face, pointing out a jagged mark and asking if it is stuck there forever. Turns out, surviving that strike branded him with the exact same scar from his past life. A few days fly by. With his core fully ignited, the real grind kicks off, and his sister is playing coach for day one. Our boy is locked in, hyper-focused on leveling up his agility and raw reflexes. Like a blur, he blitzes forward, desperately trying to snatch every falling rock out of the air before they hit the dirt. He manages to grab 14 out of 15. Madeline watches closely, totally blown away by how insanely fast he is. It literally looks like he has been using these powers for his entire life. But when she begs him to finally let her climb down from the high branches, Isaac coldly rejects the plea. The poor girl is stuck up there until he perfectly snags all 15 rocks, no exceptions. She is visibly fuming, having been held hostage in that canopy for literal hours. This time, he completely aces it, catching all 15. But before she can even cheer, the absolute madman suggests bumping it to 16. Just look at that villainous smirk. He is 100% exploiting his little sister for free labor. By the time the next week rolls around, our boy is completely submerged in his hardcore training arc, with her by his side. Deep down, he silently admits that just hanging out with her and seeing her smile makes this entire crazy timeline completely worth it. Honestly, getting this second chance is still the biggest W he's snagged in 20 years. He knows the clock is ticking until he has to permanently deal with his backstabbing bestie. But for now, he's just grinding out intense training arcs with his sister. Every single drop of sweat goes toward one brutal goal. Packing up back in his past life, he totally fumbled the bag on avenging his parents and his hometown because he simply didn't max out his stats fast enough. Worse, being chained down by high society noble politics meant he couldn't just slide out and catch bodies without completely trashing his elite public image. Looking back, thinking he could fix a corrupt, tyrannical system by playing nice was absolute clown behavior. But this go-around? The script is entirely flipped. Energy violently surges as he manifests a razor-sharp aura blade, snapping it dead center into a massive oak tree. Yeah, the math is mathing. This time, the Count and his entire bloodline are utterly cooked. The camera swoops over to the Count's lavish stronghold, looming ominously deep in the eastern territory of the Gallia Kingdom. A blazing crimson streak violently scales the colossal stone walls, like gravity is just a suggestion. That phantom? It's our boy Isaac, fully locked in on his midnight hitman agenda. The fortress is heavily stacked with security, but with his insanely buffed agility, slipping past is light work. Those patrolling foot soldiers might as well be frozen NPCs to him. Gliding inside the perimeter, our guy catches the sound of a completely unhinged meltdown. It's the head chef aggressively flaming his kitchen crew, demanding they speed-run the dinner prep or else. After all, he's not trying to get literally torched and permanently unalived by the psycho Count like the last guy who messed up the menu. Isaac smirks, realizing he just scored a massive shortcut. Now he can totally skip the headache of blindly searching the maze-like halls for his target. Still, to make this execution flawless, he needs a Scanning the courtyard, he locks onto some guards huddled around a fire pit. And surprise, surprise, the Count's lackeys are absolute bottom-tier scum. They're loudly hyping each other up over the innocent girls the alderman supposedly promised. One scarred-up mercenary grunts, guessing that somebody must have permanently flatlined the alderman, since the guy straight-up ghosted them. But these absolute creeps care 0% about the dead official. They just want their victims. Hearing this sickening chatter, reality hits Isaac like a freight train. These are the exact same monsters who brutally tormented his sister in his past life. And in this current timeline, they were specifically hired to rip Hannah's life apart. His blood boils black, and he decides to drop them a little farewell present. With one lethal slice, he severs the head off a massive stone golem perched right above them. The monolithic boulder plummets like a meteor, instantly flattening one of the guards into the pavement and logging him out of life forever. The surviving dirtbags are totally shook. They stare at the sky, violently confused about how a massive rock had just gravity dropped out of nowhere. As one panicking goon cautiously steps up to inspect the gore, his buddy immediately brushes it off, blaming the brutal splatter. Shrugging it off, they casually decide to go bark at some lower-tier servant to mop up their buddies. Taking that window of pure chaos, Isaac blitzes down the fortress wall like lightning, exploiting the perfect blind spot. Knowing a blind search for the final boss is a drag, he needs the absolute high ground. Pumping mana through his veins, he spider climbs straight up a towering spire. Bingo. He finally locks eyes on the Count's private penthouse. A single glowing window aggressively cutting through the pitch-black night. Without wasting a single breath, Isaac launches himself straight. He intends to sweep the perimeter, but two heavily armed meatheads are currently blocking the VIP entrance. Honestly, at his current power scaling, these bozos aren't a roadblock, they're just a minor pop-up ad. Isaac vanishes into thin air. Before their brains can even process the blur, it is wildly too late. A crackling wave of high-voltage lightning absolutely fries them both into immediate. He effortlessly snags one of their broadswords on the way down, even though he frankly doesn't need the extra steel to pack the Count up. The camera sharply cuts inside the opulent dining room, where the real nightmare is about to unfold. So our boy kicks things off by crashing the scene, straight up declaring this little get-together is. The Count's jaw drops. His brain is literally glitching out from the shock. But a second later, that disbelief morphs into this greasy air. Meanwhile, his kid Zvold doesn't even blink at Isaac busting in. They literally keep chatting away, treating our guy like he's just some annoying draft of wind passing through the room. Wrapping up their little chat, the Count connects the dots. He figures Isaac must be the dude who packed up the alderman, claiming there's only one way he pulled it off. The old man actually thinks Isaac only managed the kill by snatching. Isaac actually pauses. He's standing right there radiating pure murder, and these snobs are completely brushing him off. Honestly, it tracks. High society looks at regular folks like actual dirt on their custom boots. To these elites, Isaac is literally just a buzzing pest waiting to get swatted. Too bad for them, this exact pest is about to wipe their whole family tree off the map. Ice cold, Isaac nods at the Count's little theory. Then, Zvold finally opens his mouth. This absolute psycho tells his dad to fork over 100 gold coins. Plot twist. The dead alderman was literally just a disposable chess piece they were placing bets on. The Count just yawns, chuckling that his son has a much better read on broke peasants than he ever will. Talk about a genuinely toxic bloodline. These people, they don't just exploit humans, they treat them like cheap toys for their own sick entertainment and bedroom thrills. Isaac is officially done with this circus. The gloves are completely off. He drops a verbal nuke that leaves them stunned, straight up calling the Count a greasy, pot-bellied pig. Fun fact, that's his actual nickname back in the capital. And Isaac knows all the tea, because in his past life, he was sitting pretty at the absolute top of the aristocrat. The ultimate flex for top-tier royals was brutally roasting these backwater lords and slapping them with humiliating titles. Our boy doesn't hold back. He drags the wife and the son right into the crossfire, too. He absolutely cooks the whole squad, labeling their entire lineage as nothing but a pen of filthy swine. The Countess totally loses it. Her brain raw magic explodes from her body, shattering the glass in her hand to absolute dust. She hurls a massive surge of lightning right at Isaac's chest, aiming to fry him alive, and the blast violently shreds half the room's wall. Choking, thick gray smoke immediately but as the debris clears, boom. Isaac is just chilling there, 0 damage, and his smirk is even more disrespectful than before. Paralyzed by shock, the Countess frantically starts charging up a second strike. This time, she redlines her mana, cranking her volatile energy to absolute maximum. That right there? That's Isaac's cue to go on the offensive. Right in the middle of casting, a weird sensation hits the Countess, and her energy violently slips out of her grip. Isaac's internal monologue spills the facts. Her magic control is literal garbage, and flexing max power without actual skill is a massive rookie mistake. The Count screams his wife's name in pure panic. But Isaac just flexes that all he needs to pack her up is one tiny, lethal spark of his own energy. He injects that spark into her aura. Her magic instantly overloads, triggering a massive, brutal implosion inside her veins. Boom. Lights out. She's dead before her body. Isaac isn't letting the Count shed a single tear. He promises to ship the old man right down to hell with her, but a split second before the fatal strike connects, Zavold flashes in, throwing up a heavy magic shield to block the hit and save his dad. The Count snaps back to reality. Suddenly, Isaac feels pure killing intent creeping up his spine, and barely dodges a blindside strike. Reality check. This is now a high-stakes, 2-on-1 deathmatch. The Count and his psycho kid step up side by side, totally locked in. Spitting pure venom, they declare that thanks to Isaac's little stunt today, every single person back home is completely screwed if these guys actually manage to take him down. But Isaac just smirks, flashing that chillingly cold smile of a guy who already watched the end credits roll. He calls them filthy swine one last time and crowns himself the Alpha Wolf, stepping in to slaughter the herd. Zavold blitzes forward like a literal thunderbolt, knuckles tightly coiled, ready to shatter skulls. But in Isaac's eyes, the whole world is crawling in slow motion. He casually notes that their pathetic, pill-popped awakening is absolute garbage next to his raw, natural evolution triggered by a legit lightning bolt. Still, there's 0 time to chill, as a second blindside ambush comes flying in. Even with his god-tier stats, Isaac is on a ticking clock if this brawl turns into a marathon. The father-son duo combo their strikes flawlessly, desperately hunting for any tiny blind spot to exploit. Timing it perfectly, they launch a synced, all-out assault, dead set on ripping right through his defenses. But Isaac doesn't even blink. To him, their speed is agonizingly sluggish. In a heartbeat, he violently snatches both of their incoming limbs straight out of the air. The Count eats a devastating punt right to the stomach, but Zavold, oh, he catches something way more gruesome. Because this is the exact scumbag who slaughtered Gavin's folks. You don't need a play-by-play for the massacre that drops next. The second he butchered those innocent civilians, his death warrant was signed. Isaac violently overloads Zavold's core, frying him alive exactly the same way he dealt with the Countess. The Count shrieked in absolute fury. Panicking, he dumps every single drop of his energy right at Isaac. But the blast literally doesn't even leave a scratch. His pathetic sparks are about as lethal as a drained AA battery. Shaking with terror, he begs to know what kind of monster Isaac actually is. Isaac drops an icy response. He's a total nobody. Just a ghost who ate dirt under their brutal regime for way too long. And right now, he's the executioner stepping up to crush the Count's empire into dust. As Isaac stalks closer, dripping with suffocating bloodlust, the horrifying reality finally hits the old man. Isaac's awakening was forged by a genuine, roaring thunderbolt. Every single ounce of his snobby ego evaporates instantly. He spits venom, cursing Isaac for burning his legacy to ash. Isaac just nods, shrugging that he's only here to scrub this filthy pigpen clean. Desperately gripping onto false hope, the Count barks that he's a dead man walking. He screams that the aristocratic elites will never let this slide, but Isaac's dead eyes just lock onto the shiny pendant, hanging right on the Count's chest, the ultimate badge of high society. He casually rips it off his neck and lets out a mocking scoff, asking if a shiny piece of metal is seriously supposed to make him sweat. Even then, the bleeding noble squeals that Isaac is nothing but dirty peasant trash, utterly unworthy of shedding royal blood. He keeps crying that the High Lords will send a massive manhunt after him once he drops dead. But Isaac, he literally couldn't care less. Instead, he gives the dying man a chillingly calm reassurance. Gripping the pendant that reflects his boiling wrath, his mission locks in. He coldly vows that he is going to be the one hunting them down, not the other way around. And with that, he brutally sends that absolute scumbag packing to reunite with his rotten family and the former Count in the dirt. After permanently deleting that piece of trash, we spot Isaac tearing down the mansion's massive corridors. He is on a hardcore hunt for an ultra-rare loot drop called Arcanite. This stuff is literally the most insanely expensive, rarest mineral on the planet, and those rich snobs don't just melt it down to flex with flashy swords and shiny necklaces. It is a massive cheat code that completely maxes out their electrical firepower. Because it is so broken, only the top-tier aristocrats manage to hoard heavy amounts of it. And our boy distinctly remembers the dead Count flexing about sitting on a literal gold mine of Arcanite right on his estate. Chewing on this thought, Isaac is dead set that the greedy Count must be hoarding an absolute mountain of loot. At least, that's the grand delusion fueling him right up until he kicks open the doors to the Count's private vault. Instead of gold mountains, he spots a pathetic little chest holding just a handful of trinkets. After all that sweat and blood, yeah, Isaac is completely fuming over the Count's fake flex. He was totally banking on a massive payday. With this pathetic stash of scraps, there is zero chance he can forge that legendary blade he wielded back in his past life. Meanwhile, let's smash cut back to Isaac's sleepy home village. Isaac figures that with the Count officially 6 feet under, the capital will drag its feet before dispatching a replacement. Plus, with his unhinged new master plan to actively hunt down the elites, those high society snobs will have way bigger fish to fry than micromanaging some absolute middle-of-nowhere province. Long story short, his hometown and family are completely safe, leaving him totally free to crash the academy and unleash pure chaos across the capital. Isaac's blood is practically boiling with pure hype to kickstart this revenge tour. But the absolute best part? He finally gets to flex his crazy awakening. Flashback to his past life. Right after tanking a literal lightning strike, he totally brushed it off as some freak accident. He barely dragged his bruised body back to the dirt roads of the village, literally seconds away from passing out cold. The crazy twist? He only realized his stats leveled up when the panicked locals rushed over to check on him, and wild, crackling blue sparks suddenly danced across his fingertips. That exact split second triggered a massive block party, because boom, he instantly became the ultimate saving grace of their town. In this world, awakening your powers is basically a golden ticket straight into high society. Sure, the heavy bags of cash are nice, but the real prize? Absolute immunity against those ruthless local tyrants. So yeah, it totally makes sense why our boy is practically vibrating with sheer joy right now. Just look at him, cheesing from ear to ear like an absolute goofball. But wait, the eerie, ghost town silence of the village brutally snaps him right out of his daydream. A dark, icy wave of dread instantly washes over Isaac. His mind races, wondering if the Count's remaining goons launched a sneak attack while he was busy. Triggering his powers, he explodes forward into a blinding, Destination number 1, his family home. He desperately screams out for his parents and friends, panic creeping in. But right as our guy is spiraling into a total panic attack, the entire community suddenly pops out of nowhere, right behind him. Yep, you guessed it. It is a massive ambush surprise. And the wildest part? Every single person here already knows about his top secret awakening. He instantly connects the dots. There is only one logical culprit. His little sister totally failed the vibe check and spilled the tea, even after he swore her to absolute secrecy. Caught red-handed, Madeline awkwardly dodges his deadly glare. She shyly mumbles that she only whispered it to 2 people, which basically confirms their blabbermouth parents hyped the news up to the entire town. And right on cue, a swarm of hyper kids ambush Isaac, bombarding him with wild questions about his max stats and sprint speed, their imaginations completely spiraling out of control. They are literally asking if he can levitate, aggressively begging him to drop a live demo of his insane new magic. Isaac tries to play the cool, mysterious older brother card, promising a showcase later, but the relentless brats are having absolutely none of it. Surprisingly, even the grown-ups start hyping him up, chanting for him to unleash just a tiny spark. Backed into a corner, he finally caves. Thank God he leveled up a few flashy party tricks during his previous life. Channeling raw, crackling voltage to his fingertips, he flawlessly sculpts and weaves the glowing blue energy, leaving the entire crowd absolutely stunned. The wholesome vibe is totally peaking, until a chilling, unfamiliar voice completely shatters the moment. A mysterious stranger steps from the shadows, smirking as he declares he has been hunting Isaac down. Scanning the awestruck crowd, the intruder instantly clocks Isaac as a fresh awakened, the absolute only powerhouse in this dirt-poor town capable of dealing real damage. His eyes lock onto our hero as he coldly demands the truth. Was Isaac the one who brutally slaughtered the alderman? It hits Isaac like a ton of bricks. The absolute unit standing right in front of him is none other than Reshak, the big boss running the notorious Silver Wolves, a ruthless mercenary syndicate. And with zero hesitation, before Isaac can even breathe a single word, Reshak drops the bomb. He caught wind of the whispers surrounding Alderman's sudden dirt nap. And representing the Silver Wolves means holding down their street cred, blood for blood. Translating to, he is here to absolutely obliterate whoever put his guy in the grave. Catching this intense threat, our boy does not even flinch. Zero straight up telling the boss that the absolute clown had it coming. Plot twist? Reshak actually nods to that. As the shot caller, he knew Alderman was heavily into some toxic, messed up garbage. He low-key respects Isaac for taking out the trash. But business is business, and a leader still has to avenge his fallen squad mate. Meanwhile, Isaac is completely zoning out, his eyes absolutely glued to Reshak's massive blade. More specifically, that juicy, ultra-rare chunk of arcanite, completely glowing, and Reshak puffs out his chest, totally flexing as he catches Isaac staring. He assumes our boy is mind-blown, acting like a rookie who has never witnessed top-tier loot in his entire life. Shrugging it off, he grips his hilt, tossing down the gauntlet for a hardcore, sudden death showdown. Watching the vibes turn absolutely lethal, Gavin panics and jumps in, practically begging Isaac to just walk away. But Isaac completely ghosts him. His brain is already calculating the stats. Reshak is built out of pure muscle and grit. Yet, at the end of the day, the dude is just a regular merc, zero awakening power, meaning our boy is sitting comfortably in the driver's seat. Catching the vibe, he literally snatches Gavin's rusty pitchfork. Gavin is absolutely stressing, but Isaac knows a basic farming tool is all it takes, now that he is completely awakened. With that shiny arcanite basically begging to be looted, there is absolutely no universe where he passes up this massive win. Isaac opens his mouth to take this brawl outside the town limits, but Reshak completely shuts that down. Out of nowhere, he launches his massive frame forward, aiming to speedrun this kill. Our boy parries the lethal strike at the absolute last microsecond, genuinely shook that Reshak would swing so recklessly in a crowded zone. If Isaac lets his explosive energy loose right here, innocent bystanders are getting totally fried in the crossfire. Realizing the brutal stakes, he immediately screams at the locals to scatter and get to safety. After a savage clash of metal, Reshak clocks the reality. Even as a total rookie to his powers, Isaac is somehow already styling on him with absolute, flawless control, which totally explains why he instantly cleared the danger zone. Then it fully clicks for Isaac. Trapping him in the village was a 200 IQ strategy to nerf his damage, because Reshak completely lacks magical hacks. Holding the villagers hostage with their presence perfectly cages Isaac's maximum output. Isaac totally gets it. Spamming his massive area of effect nukes is strictly off the table. But our guy always keeps an ace up his sleeve. Mid-brawl, he starts injecting micro-doses of raw lightning to perfectly deflect the heavy hits. Shockingly, Reshak hypes up the slick technique right before he rushes back in for round 2. Isaac effortlessly absorbs the impact, his brain working overtime. Since the boss man is running on pure physical stats, his combo patterns are super predictable. Bursting backward to rip open the gap, Isaac totally chucks the pitchfork, like a massive javelin, straight at his skull. The weapon totally whiffs, flying wide, and Reshak smirks, low-key disappointed by the massive fail. But what this boomer does not realize? That miss was 100% calculated. Yeah, the dude is officially cooked. Isaac smirks, revealing that since he cannot unleash his heavy artillery without collateral damage, he is just going to use that planted pitchfork as a giant, fatal lightning rod to channel a localized... Reshak freezes, completely defenseless, as Isaac materializes behind him. In a flash, he thrusts the pitchfork forward. The makeshift weapon crackles with raw, surging, but something is dead wrong. The brutal sneak attack, it doesn't leave a single scratch. Catching Isaac's jaw practically hitting the floor, Reshak smugly drops his ultimate trump card. This dude is rocking a full suit of Arcanite armor. No wonder that lethal strike bounced off like an absolute joke. With a twisted grin, Reshak flexes his infamous street name. They call him the Noble Slayer. The insane durability of his gear exposes a wild secret about Arcanite's true potential. It doesn't just boost lightning magic, it literally acts like a massive battery. With the right spark, even a powerless, everyday human can hijack elemental energy. So how exactly did a commoner score such crazy expensive loot? He openly brags about snatching it straight from Count Revel's personal stash, clueless that Isaac already permanently packed the Count into a body bag. Reshak promises the noble is next on his hit list. Honestly, Isaac is genuinely taken aback by the ridiculous sheer force this guy is throwing around. Pointing his blade, Reshak swears Isaac will be the 6th blue blood to bite the dust. He lunges forward like a runaway freight train. Isaac violently jerks back, dodging a catastrophic smash that literally obliterates the ground into a massive crater. Swearing under his breath, Isaac starts sweating. If this drags out, his family and the whole village could get caught in the crossfire. Dropping his full arsenal right here is completely off the table. Reshak's mastery over the armor is totally cracked, but Isaac's sharp mind immediately spots a lethal loophole. Arcanite is insanely rare, a premium ore that snobby nobles absolutely obsess over. Since it effortlessly absorbs and amplifies high-voltage lightning, the elite hoard it to craft top-tier gear. But unawakened folks avoid it like the plague, because it is violently unstable. Long story short, if you pump way too much juice into Arcanite, it violently detonates. Only a true awakened can safely regulate that explosive energy. Smirking internally with this deadly intel, Isaac plots to literally blow Reshak sky high. Totally oblivious, Reshak keeps unleashing a completely unhinged berserker barrage. Every single brutal swing fuels his tragic villain origin story. He screams about slicing up the filthy Baron who butchered his entire family. That horrific bloodbath dragged him into an endless spiral of vengeance, swearing to slaughter every single lightning-wielding freak that breathes, including Isaac. This bloody brawl isn't about the alderman anymore. It is wildly personal. Amidst the chaotic clash, Isaac finally spots the golden, razor-thin window he needed. Watching Isaac endlessly backpedal and play defense, Reshak bursts into arrogant laughter, ruthlessly roasting him for being a total pushover. But Isaac is just baiting him, chilling until the flawless trap snaps shut. The second the timing aligns, he violently parries Reshak's deadly swing mid-air. Reshak's eyes go wide, completely paralyzed by the sudden block, wondering if this noble kid has an absolute death wish. But Isaac just looks him dead in the eyes and coldly whispers, "Game over." He straight up admits Reshak might win a brainless flexing contest. But the gap in actual combat experience, it is night and day. Without missing a beat, Isaac forcibly floods the Arcanite weapon with a catastrophic voltage surge. By the time Reshak clocks his fatal mistake, it is officially game over. His own massive energy totally backfires, blowing up right in his face. When the smoke finally clears, Reshak is completely wiped out, flat on the dirt. Isaac breathes a massive sigh of relief seeing the guy actually survive that blast. Honestly, it took Isaac literally years of brutal grinding in his past life just to tank that kind of insane voltage. Before he can even process the win, his parents and sisters swarm him, nearly crying tears of joy that he is safe. Reshak, barely clinging to consciousness, gasps out, demanding to know. Isaac just hits him with a cold smirk. "I just redirected your own lightning right back at you." Dead silence drops. Reshak finally swallows his pride and takes the massive L. Then, going full drama king, he throws his hands up and begs Isaac to end his life to honor their death match. Isaac shoots that down in a heartbeat. Hard pass. Reshak gets super salty, barking that he absolutely deserves a warrior's ending. He even starts aggressively reciting the mercenary rulebook. Isaac just shrugs, casually reminding the guy he isn't some hired gun. So, their rigid little code means absolutely zero to him. But, he smoothly adds, he strictly follows the Protector's code. And let us be real, you can totally tell Isaac is pulling this nonsense straight out of thin air. Even Reshak hits him with a blank, confused stare. He has literally never heard of this fake rule in his entire life. But hey, beggars cannot be choosers when you just lost a duel, right? Isaac totally milks the moment for all it is worth. He announces that since he just absolutely curb-stomped their boss, Reshak and his entire squad of mercs are now officially his personal minions. Reshak looks like a guy who just zoned out in a math lecture, but is trying his hardest to nod along. Still, he questions what the kid is actually plotting. Isaac drops the bomb. Their targets are exactly the same. His master plan is not about playing nice with politics or sneaky espionage. He is going straight for the nobles' throats with pure, unadulterated force. Plus, he knows Reshak's raw combat skills make him the ultimate human shield for his hometown. So, instead of leaving his people totally exposed, he crowns this battle-hardened merc as their new head of security. Isaac drops a heavy reality check. He is heading straight into the capital, and he cannot be stressing over base defense while throwing hands on the front lines. Reshak totally gets the vibe, nodding fiercely before swearing a blood oath. He swears that as long as his squad still has a pulse, not a single scratch will touch this village. Isaac loves the loyalty, but he has got one tiny, greedy little catch. Like he would ever forget to swipe Reshak's insanely overpowered sword. Snagging that epic loot was literally his whole reason for taking the fight in the first place. Cut to a bit later, and we see Isaac hammering away, custom forging a brand new weapon. He drops some serious physics knowledge. Curving the steel lets the raw lightning channel through it with way more devastating power. Fun fact, the rest of the world will not figure out this mega brain tech for another 10 years, but our boy is fully exploiting his future life cheat codes. He is absolutely min-maxing his gear for that sweet. Finally, 0 hour drops. It is time to march on the capital. Isaac packs his gear, walking out under the teary, proud eyes of his entire village, hyping him up. His sister tosses him a cheeky smirk, telling him to crawl back if he ever needs her to beat him down in training again. Gavin gives him the classic dad talk. Do not tear down the city, and do not ghost your real day ones. Isaac flashes a confident smile, promising he will be back the second the job is done. The vibe is heavy. It feels like stepping into a massive new world, but at the exact same time, it is literally page 1 of his brutal, cold-blooded revenge arc. First up, He's got to secure his spot at the academy. The goal? Bleed their resources dry until his abilities are absolutely cracked. But the main objective? That backstabbing snake. The dude who threw 20 years of brotherhood into the trash like it was nothing. Whatever Isaac has brewing for Silas is going to be a nightmare beyond comprehension. Cutting to the next sequence, our boy is cruising across the ocean, making waves toward the capital. He's practically itching to set foot in Lutetia. His mental blueprint is crystal clear. The second he touches down, he's registering with the higher-ups. Since every freshly awakened superhuman gets a golden ticket straight into the Imperial Academy, rubbing shoulders with the snobby elite. But there's a massive catch. These rookies always flex their new abilities, fully convinced they've been blessed by the divine. Why? Because getting blasted by raw lightning literally fries their memory of the actual trauma. So naturally, they strut around acting like the chosen ones. Just as he's gearing up to squeeze in a quick grind session, boom, some random girl crashes right into his chest. His reflexes kick in to catch her, but his jaw hits the floor. It's his own sister. Mind totally blown, he demands to know why she's suddenly crashing his solo trip. Madeline just rolls her eyes like it's the most obvious thing ever. She's tagging along to the capital. Our guy shuts that down instantly. Hard pass. But his little sis isn't backing down. She refuses to rot away in their boring hometown, absolutely dead set on sticking to him like glue. Catching his deadly serious glare as he calls the whole thing insane, she actually starts sweating a bit. This triggers her to interrogate his massive vibe shift. Like, how did her average brother suddenly turn into a cracked swordsman? And casual, he's somehow hurling lightning bolts now? The math just ain't mathing for her. She puts him on the spot, demanding to know what massive secret he's keeping. Without missing a beat, he drops his go-to line, just casually claiming he time-traveled from the future. He lets out a massive sigh as she immediately calls cap on his excuse. She officially diagnoses him with brain damage, assuming a hard fall is the only logic behind his unhinged behavior. Completely dumbfounded, he still argues that the capital is way too risky, throwing the mom and dad would freak out card. Right on cue, she smoothly whips out an envelope. A literal permission slip from their folks. He is absolutely shook. How did she actually finesse their strict parents into greenlighting this city trip? He aggressively ruffles his hair, realizing his lone wolf mission just became an absolute headache. Fast forward to the ship's cafeteria, our MC quietly watches his sister absolutely demolish her food. He runs the mental calculus and figures he can juggle protecting her while pulling off his dark agenda. Suddenly, the doors swing open. A heavily armed squad storms in, bellowing an announcement that they are hunting down a rogue who eliminated a high-ranking noble. A 10 gold piece bounty drops for anyone who snitches on the Phantom who took down Count Revel. Madeline catches her brother stiffen up like a board, immediately wondering if he's the one who actually pulled off the hit. Before he can even process it, a guard zeroes in on their table, demanding their business in the capital. Smooth as ice, our guy replies, claiming they're just an innocent pair of tourists. Then drops a wild lie, saying they're actually newlyweds on their honeymoon. The guard smells the absolute cap and leans in to press harder. When out of nowhere, the entire ship violently convulses, throwing everything into absolute. The second they hit the deck, they spot the culprit, a massive, serpent-like beast known as a rorqual. The crew instantly scrambles to deploy their defenses. But the Leviathan just swats them away like annoying flies. Watching this absolute bloodbath, the soldiers basically accept their fate. Meanwhile, our boy smoothly dodges the monster's strikes, dropping some lore. Rorquals usually chill out, only turning hostile when a ship invades their turf. He knows a quick blast of lightning would send this overgrown snake packing, but flexing his powers right now would instantly frame him as the #1 suspect in Count Revel's murder. So he has got to handle this boss fight on the down low without blowing his cover. He lunges forward, slashing directly at the beast's legendary weak point, only to realize its armor is absurdly thick. His blade barely makes a dent. The rorqual counters instantly, launching him backward while his brain races for a backup strategy. While he is taking hits, those cowardly soldiers are already bailing out in a lifeboat. Realizing the whole ship is about to end up at the bottom of the ocean, our guy takes a leap of faith right into the crashing waves. Submerged in the deep water, he is totally off the radar. No witnesses. It is prime time to let loose. As the aquatic nightmare torpedoes toward him, he channels his electricity and completely fries the roque wall, right on that exact same weak spot. The shocked beast instantly turns tail and flees, breaking the surface to catch his breath. Our MC drops another fun fact about these monsters. They are incredibly salty and ego-driven, meaning it is definitely going to hunt down an easier target to soothe its bruised ego. And RIP to those fleeing soldiers, because they just became the perfect midnight snack. Back on the deck, our boy climbs up dripping wet, but totally unbothered. His little sister tackles him in a massive hug, teasingly calling him her husband. This girl is an absolute menace, jokingly whining about how this monster attack ruined the start of their so-called honeymoon. The remaining passengers hype him up as their savior, but honestly, he is just running on fumes. Still, he stays zeroed in on his ultimate goal. The moment he steps foot in that city, some corrupt, high society heads are literally going to roll. Flash forward, and we finally pull into Lutetia, the insanely gorgeous capital of Gallia. Completely on brand. Madeline is vibrating with hype, utterly starstruck by the breathtaking skyline. Meanwhile, our guy looks bored out of his mind. Let's be real, he basically spent his entire past life stuck in this exact zip code. Madeline pokes at him, wondering how he can act so dead inside, staring at this masterpiece. But, true to form, he keeps his mouth shut and drops zero. They step off the docks. He strolls with pure dark academia energy, while she is spinning around like a total tourist who just discovered civilization. He drags her to a luxury inn, telling her to secure a room while he runs some shady side quests. Madeline instantly pumps the brakes, holding her hand out for some cash. He casually chucks a bag of gold coins at her, the exact same stash those doomed soldiers ditched on the boat. Her jaw drops at the loot. She genuinely thinks they have enough bank to buy out the whole block. Our boy just sighs, shaking his head at her sheer innocence. She is completely clueless about capital city inflation. Still, he shoos her away, trusting her to check in but warning her not to blow their budget on dumb stuff. She swears up and down she will only buy the bare necessities. But as he walks away, a tiny voice in his head screams that he is making a huge mistake. Hitting the streets, our MC breaks down how the Academy's whole vibe works. Elite prodigies like him, they are branded as the Chosen. But bagging a spot in the Academy is not just a walk in the park. There is an absolute sea of overpowered tryhards, camping out just to get a shot. A massive crowd of hopefuls pulls up, totally convinced they've unlocked their... One overly confident dude steps up to the plate, flexing some insanely flashy lightning magic. Instantly, the heavily armed guards crash the party. Our boy drops the cold, hard truth. A ton of scammers try to cheat the system. This clown literally smuggled in Arcanite to fake his aura, and spoiler alert, he gets absolutely wrecked for it. The main character breaks it down. Acing this exam usually guarantees a massive bag of cash. Naturally, all these grifters just want to secure the bag and ghost the Academy the second they get paid. Finally, it is our hero's moment to shine. The tired examiner glares at him, praying he doesn't pull a stunt like the last loser. Our guy just smirks, casually summoning a blazing, blood-red lightning skull right in front of him. Rattled to the core, the guard instantly clears him. Trembling, he quickly waves him straight through the gates. He totally knew he'd ace it, but walking in with zero friction, that was wild even for him. The guard catches on to something else too. That demonic display just absolutely paralyzed the rest of the applicants. Everyone is suddenly too terrified to even take a single step forward. Strolling down the dark corridor, our boy realizes a major shift. Unlike his past life, the judges didn't interrogate him about his awakening at all. But then, he freezes in his tracks. A chillingly familiar voice echoes through the hall. Just looking at the pure hatred burning in his eyes, we already know exactly who just pulled up. Silas casually strolls over, holding out our guy's dropped admission papers like they're old buddies. Flashing a picture-perfect smile, Silas politely introduces himself, pointing out that our hero must be a freshman. Dead silence. Our boy gives him absolutely nothing. Silas looks a bit confused by the cold shoulder, completely oblivious to the fact that our protagonist is squeezing his fists so intensely that blood is dripping from his palms. Fighting back pure, unadulterated rage, our guy forces out a fake apology. He slaps on a painfully tight smile, claiming he's just feeling a little. Silas brushes it off, saying that kind of brain fog is just a super common side effect of freshly awakened power. Tossing a friendly wave, the traitor walks away, mentioning he hopes they cross paths again soon. But our boy is absolutely seething. He refuses to let his murderer just walk away. In a blind flash of fury, he draws his blade and lunges straight for Silas's neck. Boom! Silas reacts with terrifying speed, effortlessly deflecting the lethal strike. Sparks fly as the blades grind together, forcing both warriors to leap back and reset. The tension is suffocating. They are seconds away from an all-out bloodbath, when a massive instructor suddenly teleports right between them. He starts slow clapping, hyping up their insane fighting spirit, and joking about how thirsty they are to flex their new abilities. This absolute unit is Octavio Grimaldi, the combat professor. He laughs, claiming there's no better way to build a bromance than by crossing swords in the hallway. Dropping his name, he orders them to chill out, promising they'll have plenty of chances to beat each other up in class. Sitting in the lecture hall later, our protagonist glares at Grimaldi, his memory flashing back to his past life. This smiling professor was a heavy hitter in the Order of Liberation. Yeah, he was literally one of the masterminds who brutally murdered our boy in the future. Meanwhile, Silas keeps up his sickeningly sweet nice guy persona, apologizing to Professor Grimaldi for the hallway brawl. He plays the victim card perfectly, claiming their freshly awakened powers just made them way too hyper and reckless. Turning to our hero, he drops another fake apology in case he stepped on his toes, buttering him up by saying he's hyped to study together. Now, if you're screaming at the screen, thinking our boy acted like an idiot, well, he totally agrees with you. He brutally mentally scolds himself for letting pure rage hijack his brain, vowing to keep his emotions completely ice-cold from now on. Because if he moves too soon and blows his cover, he'll completely ruin his one shot at butchering Silas. Plus, that quick clash revealed a scary truth. Silas is way more overpowered right now than. That means our guy has to play the long game and dig up whatever shady scheme his enemy is plotting. But hold on, while all this drama was unfolding, a hidden presence was watching their every move from the pitch-black shadows. This masked lurker whispers to himself, utterly fascinated by the insane potential radiating from both our hero and Silas. With a sinister grin, the stalker decides it is time to put these two prodigies through it. Honestly, though, he highly doubts either of these freshmen will actually survive what's coming. The camera pans up to the towering gates of the Noble Academy. Get ready, guys, because the very first day of this chaotic semester has officially begun. Behind the scenes, our guy is sweating bullets, grinding out intense solo training sessions. Sure, he's nowhere near his past life's god-tier status yet, but this current power level, it's more than enough to totally wreck the competition for now. Basically, he's completely smurfing, leagues ahead of any scrub in his current rank. Still, he's got to play it cool and keep his true stats strictly on the down low, making absolutely sure nobody, especially Silas, catches on. Smash cut to their first brutal combat class. Right on cue, Professor Grimaldi is practically drooling at the chance to break these rookies, dropping a bombshell that the real bloodbath won't kick off until he personally exposes exactly what kind of power each of them is packing. Scanning the room, the professor spots a few absolute units ready for war, right alongside some total weaklings who look like they'd shatter from a single punch. Catching that shady vibe, our MC gets a massive flashback, hitting him like a truck from his previous life. In the original timeline, this exact evaluation turned fatal when an old guy literally fried to death, completely unable to tank a massive shock of electricity. See, the dark truth is that year after year, dozens of fresh awakeners flood into this academy, thinking they're about to glow up and master their abilities. But in reality, the corrupt nobles are running a twisted shadow system, specifically designed to crush these newbies and keep them on a tight leash. Grimaldi's booming voice shatters the silence, declaring that playtime is officially over. And without missing a beat, that creepy finger points dead straight at nobody else but our boy. Stepping up to the plate with zero hesitation, he drops his name, instantly sparking Grimaldi's memory, recognizing him as that one unhinged kid who was practically